Have you ever felt that inexplicable pull towards something greater than yourself? That whisper in the quiet moments between thoughts suggesting you were meant for more? If you're reading these words right now, it's not by chance. It's by design. The universe operates through intricate patterns of synchronicity, and your presence here is the first confirmation that you've been selected for something extraordinary. This is not mere coincidence. This is your cosmic signal. The ancients understood what modern society has forgotten, that certain individuals are marked by the universe for a unique purpose. Throughout history, these chosen ones often felt different, somehow separate from the collective slumber of humanity. They experienced deeper intuitions, stronger premonitions, and a persistent feeling that something significant awaited them. You felt it too, haven't you? That nagging sensation that your life contains an unopened door leading to your true potential. This feeling isn't imagination, it's recognition. What separates those who answer the call from those who ignore? It is not special talent or privileged circumstances, but simply awareness and willingness. The first step of any transformative journey begins with acknowledgement, recognizing that the discomfort you feel in your current existence is not a flaw, but a feature designed to propel you toward evolution. The universe never selects the completely satisfied. It chooses the divine malcontents, those who sense the gap between what is and what could be. Your dissatisfaction is not your enemy but your ally, the internal compass pointing toward your destined path. Consider this moment your formal invitation. While others received the same cosmic nudges but dismissed them as imagination or coincidence, you've remained open to the possibility of more. This receptivity is rare in a world designed to close minds rather than open them. The fact that these words resonate with something deep inside you is no accident. It's confirmation that you've been correctly identified by forces beyond ordinary perception. The universe has indeed chosen you, and now you stand at the threshold of your secret initiation. What if everything you've been taught about success, happiness, and fulfillment was precisely engineered to keep you from achieving them? The greatest illusion perpetuated by society is that extraordinary lives are reserved for extraordinary people, those born with special talents, advantages, or luck. This carefully constructed myth serves one purpose: to keep the majority complacent, convincing them that mediocrity is their natural state, while exceptional achievement belongs to others. Today, we shatter this illusion once and for all. The truth is both simpler and more profound. Extraordinary results come from ordinary people who make different decisions. The barriers between you and your ideal existence are not external, but internal, fabricated limitations you've accepted as truth. Every transformative figure throughout history faced the same moment you face now: the decision to believe either in artificial boundaries or in their boundless potential. What separated them was not innate superiority, but the courage to recognize and reject the comfortable lies that imprison most minds. Look closely at your life. How many of your current circumstances result from active, conscious choice versus passive acceptance of what seemed inevitable? How many of your beliefs about what's possible were handed to you by people who themselves had surrendered to limitation? The most dangerous prison is the one with invisible walls, boundaries we enforce upon ourselves because we've never questioned their validity. These mental constructs feel real precisely because they were installed before you developed the capacity to examine them critically. Your true power begins with recognizing that these limitations exist only through your consent. The moment you withdraw that consent, these walls dissolve like morning mist in sunlight. This is the first and most crucial step of your initiation. Understanding that the world as you've known it is largely illusion, a collective agreement rather than objective reality. In breaking free from this shared hallucination, you don't defy the natural order. You align with it. Nature knows no restraint in its expression, and neither should you, as its most conscious creation. Throughout human history, a small percentage of individuals have experienced a profound awakening, a fundamental shift in perception that forever altered how they engaged with existence. These awakened ones walk among the sleeping masses, seeing opportunities where others see obstacles, possibilities where others see dead ends. They aren't distinguished by privilege, intelligence, or talent, but by a different relationship with reality itself. They've recognized a profound truth. Consciousness creates circumstances, not the other way around. This awakened minority exists in every generation, every culture, every socioeconomic level. They're the innovators who refuse to accept impossible as final, the visionaries who manifest what others can barely imagine, the quiet revolutionaries who transform their immediate world through transformed perception. What unites them isn't external advantage, but internal alignment. They've discovered how to harmonize their thoughts, emotions, and actions with natural laws that govern achievement and fulfillment. They've learned to work with universal forces rather than against them. You've likely encountered these individuals without recognizing what makes them different. They possess a certain quality that's difficult to define, but impossible to ignore. A quiet confidence, a peculiar resilience, an unusual ability to manifest their intentions. While others complain about circumstances, they create new ones. While others wait for permission, they proceed with conviction. While others seek validation, they follow internal guidance. They aren't superhuman. They've simply accepted their full humanity, embracing capabilities that most leave dormant. The good news is that this awakened state isn't reserved for a predestined elite. It's available to anyone willing to undergo the necessary internal transformation. You wouldn't be experiencing the resonance with these words if you weren't already partially awakened, already sensing the expanded possibilities of your existence. The stirring you feel isn't wishful thinking, but recognition. Your deeper self acknowledging truth it has always known, but temporarily forgotten. Your presence, in this moment, engaging with these ideas, marks you as a potential member of this conscious minority. If you're ready for change, I'm ready for anything, and subscribe to the channel. What truly separates those who transform their lives from those who perpetually prepare to transform? It isn't knowledge. Information has never been more abundant or accessible. It isn't opportunity. Every day presents countless moments for meaningful change. It isn't even capability. Humans routinely underestimate their inherent powers of adaptation and growth. The primary barrier is something far more subtle yet devastatingly effective: the comfort of potential over the demands of actualization. There's a peculiar safety in remaining potential energy rather than becoming kinetic. When your dreams and capabilities remain theoretical, they stay perfect, unmarred by the messiness of implementation. You can indefinitely maintain the comforting belief that success awaits whenever you finally decide to pursue it. This psychological safety net, the perpetual promise of someday, becomes an addiction more powerful than any chemical dependency. Why risk the possibility of discovering limitations when you can live in the certainty of untested potential? This invisible barrier manifests in countless forms: the perfect plan that's never quite ready for execution, the ideal conditions that never quite materialize, the additional knowledge or resource you convince yourself you need before beginning. Each rationalization seems reasonable in isolation, yet collectively they form an impenetrable shield against the vulnerability of actual attempt. The most insidious aspect of this barrier is how it masquerades as prudence, as responsibility, as wisdom, when it's actually fear wearing the disguise of rational thought. The initiation requires recognizing this barrier not as protection, but as prison. The moment of true power comes when you realize that readiness is a myth. No one feels completely prepared when stepping into their greatness. Transformation doesn't result from perfect circumstances, but from decision, from the willingness to act before certainty arrives. The awakened minority isn't composed of fearless individuals, but of people who have learned to act meaningfully while experiencing fear, who understand that courage isn't the absence of doubt but the triumph over it. Conventional wisdom suggests that personal transformation occurs gradually, through incremental improvements accumulated over time. While there's partial truth in this perspective, it misses a critical phenomenon observed among those who achieve extraordinary breakthroughs: the quantum leap. In physics, a quantum leap occurs when an electron moves from one energy state to another without passing through intermediate states. In human development, it manifests as sudden, dramatic shifts in consciousness that instantly reorganize one's perception, capabilities, and results. These quantum leaps don't defy the laws of growth, but express them at their highest level. They occur when accumulated potential energy, built through intention, attention, and aligned action, reaches critical mass. The transformation appears instantaneous to outside observers, who often attribute it to luck or hidden advantage, missing the invisible preparation that preceded the visible breakthrough. What looks like overnight success is actually the culmination of concentrated energy finally expressing its true power. What triggers these extraordinary leaps? The catalyst is invariably a profound decision. Not the routine decisions of daily life, but a fundamental choice that alters your relationship with yourself and reality. This level of decision isn't made with the analytical mind alone, but with your entire being. It's a commitment so complete that retreat becomes literally unthinkable, creating a psychological point of no return. When decision reaches this intensity, the universe conspires to actualize it, reorganizing circumstances to align with your new self-concept. You stand perpetually at the threshold of such a quantum leap. The accumulated wisdom, experiences, disappointments, and insights of your life have prepared you for this moment of decision. The gap between your current reality and your desired state isn't as vast as it appears. It can be crossed in a single bound of consciousness when decision becomes absolute. This isn't magical thinking, but the application of natural law. Energy follows attention, circumstances follow consciousness, and reality reorganizes around unshakable commitment. Conventional self-improvement focuses heavily on motivation, the emotional fuel that drives action. While motivation has its place, relying on it creates a fundamental vulnerability in your transformation process. Motivation is inherently unstable, fluctuating with circumstances, physical states, and emotional tides. Building your evolution on such shifting sands guarantees inconsistency. The awakened minority understands this limitation and operates from a more powerful alternative: identity-based commitment. When action emerges from identity rather than motivation, consistency becomes automatic rather than effortful. Consider the difference between someone who says, "I'm trying to exercise regularly because I'm motivated to lose weight," versus someone who states, "I'm an athlete. Daily training is simply what I do." The first individual must repeatedly overcome resistance through willpower. The second experiences minimal friction because the action aligns with their self-concept. The fundamental question shifts from, "Do I feel like doing this today?" to, "Who am I?" Once answered definitively, appropriate action follows naturally. This identity-based approach explains why some people maintain extraordinary consistency without apparent struggle. They're not experiencing continuous motivation or exercising superhuman willpower. They've simply rewritten their core identity. Their actions are expressions of being rather than attempts at becoming. The smoker who struggles to quit through willpower faces a daily battle. The person who firmly decides, "I am not a smoker," experiences a fundamental shift that renders cigarettes inconsistent with their identity, dramatically reducing the need for resistance. Your initiation requires transcending the motivation paradigm entirely. Instead of asking what you want to achieve or acquire, focus on who you must become. All sustainable transformation flows from identity revision. The moment you genuinely see yourself as already being the person who possesses the qualities and capabilities you seek, your subconscious mind begins reorganizing your perceptions, decisions, and actions to conform with this new self-image. Motivation pushes from behind, creating resistance. Identity pulls from ahead, creating alignment. Ancient alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold, a pursuit modern science dismissed as fantasy. Yet these esoteric researchers were working with a profound metaphorical truth, the possibility of fundamental transformation through specific processes. The goal they ultimately sought wasn't physical, but psychological, the transmutation of ordinary consciousness into its highest expression. This alchemical process provides the perfect model for your own transformation, following universal principles that transcend time and culture. The first alchemical stage is calcination, the application of intense heat to break down a substance to its essential elements. In personal development, this represents the breakdown of false structures through challenges that reveal what's genuine and what's artifice. The disappointments, failures, and crises you've experienced weren't meaningless suffering, but necessary calcination, burning away illusions to reveal your core essence. Without this purifying fire, transformation remains superficial, changing appearances rather than substance. The second crucial stage is dissolution, immersing the calcined material in liquid to separate elements that no longer serve the process. In your development, this manifests as the release of limiting beliefs, outdated identities, and toxic relationships that cannot accompany you into your elevated state. This release isn't loss, but liberation, the necessary unburdening that precedes rebirth. Many remain stuck because they attempt transformation while desperately clinging to elements incompatible with their desired state, creating irreconcilable internal conflict. The final essential stage is coagulation, the recombining of purified elements into a new, coherent whole. This is where fragmented aspects of self integrate into a unified identity aligned with your highest potential. This integration doesn't erase uniqueness or complexity, but harmonizes previously conflicting elements into coherent expression. The gold produced through this process isn't something foreign to your nature, but your nature fully realized, consciousness awakened to its inherent capabilities, freed from artificial constraints that prevented its complete expression. Nature demonstrates that evolution typically occurs gradually, except during periods of extraordinary pressure, when species can undergo rapid adaptation to meet existential challenges. Similarly, human consciousness tends to evolve incrementally, except when subjected to specific conditions that catalyze accelerated growth. Understanding and deliberately creating these conditions allows you to compress decades of development into dramatically shorter time frames, experiencing exponential rather than linear progression. The first catalyst for accelerated evolution is intensified awareness, directing sustained, penetrating attention to aspects of self and reality typically operating below conscious threshold. This heightened observation doesn't just gather information, it fundamentally alters the observed. Quantum physics demonstrates that particles behave differently when observed, and consciousness follows similar principles. The act of bringing full awareness to habitual patterns, automatic responses, and unconscious beliefs begins changing them instantly without additional intervention. Awareness itself is transformative. The second catalyst is environment optimization, strategically, controlling your physical, informational, and social surroundings to support your emerging identity. Consciousness doesn't exist in isolation, but in continuous exchange with its environment, absorbing and responding to countless signals that shape perception and behavior. By deliberately curating these inputs, the information you consume, the people you associate with, the physical spaces you inhabit, you create conditions where growth becomes the path of least resistance, rather than requiring constant effort against opposing currents. The third and most powerful catalyst is immersion in peak states, regularly accessing heightened states of consciousness where limiting beliefs lose their grip and expanded capabilities become directly accessible. These states, whether achieved through meditation, breathwork, movement, creative flow, or other methods, aren't mere temporary experiences but doorways to accelerated development. Each immersion weakens the neural pathways of limitation and strengthens those of possibility, gradually transferring the insights and capabilities of peak states into baseline functioning. The awakened minority doesn't just visit these states occasionally, but learns to inhabit them with increasing frequency. As your initiation progresses and your capabilities expand, you encounter a fundamental truth that separates genuine mastery from mere achievement. Increased power brings increased responsibility. The ability to influence reality more directly isn't granted for personal gratification or dominance, but for greater service and contribution. Those who fail to grasp this principle inevitably experience a painful correction, as the universe has built-in safeguards against power misused for purely selfish purposes or at others' expense. This responsibility manifests first in heightened awareness of your impact. As your consciousness expands, you perceive with increasing clarity how your thoughts, words, and actions create ripple effects far beyond their immediate consequences. What others might dismiss as minor choices, you recognize as significant causal factors with far-reaching implications. This awareness doesn't induce paralyzing hypervigilance, but a profound reverence for your creative participation in the unfolding of reality. Every choice becomes an act of conscious creation. With expanded capability comes the obligation to address progressively greater challenges. The universe operates on principles of balance and exchange. Greater gifts require greater application. Those who attempt to receive without giving, to accumulate without contributing, create internal and external disharmony that eventually limits further growth. The most fulfilled among the awakened minority aren't those with the greatest personal advantages, but those who've aligned their increasing capabilities with meaningful service addressing significant needs. Perhaps most importantly, your advancement creates an obligation to facilitate others' growth. True mastery isn't measured by personal elevation, but by your capacity to elevate those around you. As you overcome limitations that once seemed insurmountable, you gain both the ability and responsibility to illuminate pathways for others facing similar barriers. This doesn't mean imposing your journey on others or assuming superiority, but offering your hard-won insights as possibilities rather than prescriptions, respecting each individual's unique path while providing support where welcomed. As this phase of your initiation concludes, a more profound truth emerges. There is no final destination, no ultimate achievement that completes the journey. The truly awakened understand that mastery isn't a static state, but a dynamic process of continuous expansion. Each breakthrough reveals new horizons. Each answer generates more nuanced questions. Each capability developed unveils further possibilities for growth. This isn't the disappointing revelation it might initially seem, but the exhilarating promise of perpetual discovery and evolution. The conventional mindset treats transformation as a finite project, a series of steps culminating in a finished state where struggle ends and permanent satisfaction begins. This misconception creates unnecessary frustration when new challenges emerge after supposed completion. The awakened perspective recognizes that challenges don't signify failure or regression, but are the necessary pressure creating continued growth. Difficulty isn't the opposite of progress, but its essential component, the resistance that builds strength, just as gravity builds physical power. This understanding transforms your relationship with the journey itself. When perpetual evolution, rather than final arrival, becomes the expectation, you can fully inhabit each phase without anxious rushing towards some imagined completion point. Paradoxically, this present moment inhabitation accelerates growth by directing full resources to current challenges rather than dispersing energy between present experience and future anticipation. The most efficient path forward is complete engagement with where you stand now, giving today's lessons your undivided attention. Remember that the universe selected you for this initiation because it recognized your readiness for expanded consciousness. The discomfort, uncertainties, and challenges you'll encounter aren't punishment, but confirmation you're on the correct path. The growing pains of a consciousness stretching beyond former limitations. By accepting the invitation extended in These words, you've already distinguished yourself from the many who sense the call but retreat from its implications. Now carry this awareness forward into every dimension of your existence, allowing it to inform each choice, each interaction, each moment of this remarkable journey called life. The secret initiation has begun. How it unfolds from here depends entirely on you.